few days ago, Zenless Zone Zero's 1.6 update released, allowing players to unlock highly anticipated characters such as Anby as Soldier Zero, Pulchra, and giving another look at upcoming agents Hugo and Vivian. But while deciding what agents to use for a mission, I noticed something that was off about a character. Something that had changed.
Awaiting further instructions. Ready and waiting.
I'm at your disposal. I shall follow your orders.
Which I found odd. So I decided to read the patch notes and...
Wow, I need a minute to think about this.
This sucks, actually. Okay, maybe I'm being a little dramatic, but realistically, as fans and consumers of a game like Zenless Zone Zero, a game that takes great pride in showing you how well crafted it is, a change to something that is established, like the voice actors, art, or the style of gameplay and narrative, could be jarring and upsetting to established fans. And to many of us, it very much is. Voice actors have become some of the most important people in multimedia enterprises. Breathing life into a character with only your voice is a skill that not many have. Sometimes, all it takes for someone to fall in love with a character is for them to be moved by their vocal performance. Do you really think Bao would have acted this down bad for Blythe if he was voiced by some bloke from a pub down the road?
Come on, England! Score some fucking goals!
Probably not, but the point is, in voiced media, the voice actor is the heart of the character. Lycan and Soldier 11 aren't the only agents who have had their voices changed for Zenless Zone Zero. Lucy's VA was changed in the 1.1 update from Courtney Lynn to Elsie Lovelock, and Sokaku's VA was changed twice since the game went live. But is that always a bad thing? Well, in the case of Zenless Zone Zero, that's both yes and no. It's kind of complicated, but if we look at Lucy, I'd argue that her change in voice actor ended up being good. Of course, we'll never know what Courtney Lynn's performance during the Sons of Caledon chapter could have been, but ultimately, Elsie Lovelock absolutely killed it. But I've always had a problem with exactly one line read, and, well, okay, just listen to it, and I'm sure you'll understand.
Huh? Oh, to what do I owe the pleasure? To what do I owe the pleasure?
However, with Sokaku, I find that each change of voice actor has somewhat altered the feeling or identity of the character. Personally, I think that they got Sokaku correct out of the gate. Her first voice actor sounds exactly what I'd imagine a young Oni girl would sound like within Zenless Zone Zero's world. But then they changed it once. And again. Take a listen to this and tell me these are really the same character.
Is it work time? Is food included? Is it work time? Is food included? Is it work time? Is food included?
Of course, the new performances aren't bad, and that goes with the most recent changes too. As a whole, the quality of voice acting performances has increased drastically since the 90s and even the early 2000s. Even if some of these awkward line reads are absolutely iconic.
I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light!
The new voices for Lycan and Soldier 11 are still good and enjoyable to listen to. But the bottom line is, it still changes the essence of how we perceive the character, whether or not you like the new or older voices more, or what about the performances you like or dislike. Whether the changes were necessary, fundamentally, the way newer or older players will perceive these characters now has changed. Ultimately, not everything can stay the same, and the artists behind something you love may stop or change for various reasons. Either they've been fired, died, or a mysterious third thing we'll talk about later. Think about a series where they changed the voice actor of a main character. Alright, no, that's a bad example for narrative reasons. Let's use Fire Emblem Three Houses, an amazing game that you should never talk about with people online. Around the time of the game's release, the actor behind the male playable character, Chris Nioisi, admitted to emotional abuse of several former partners and friends in a Tumblr post that I believe has since been deleted. In response to this, Nintendo had the role of Byleth recast to Zach Aguilar, with the new voice being included in a future update. Aguilar has gone on to reprise the role in both Fire Emblem Heroes and Byleth's appearance in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. James Earl Jones is an iconic American actor known for many roles on both Broadway and in film. Jones might be most recognizable as the voice of Darth Vader in the Star Wars films and Mufasa in The Lion King. Sadly, James Earl Jones passed away in September of 2024 at the age of 93. Jones had a long career filled with well-earned accolades. But I know how Disney works, and they're not going to stop using Darth Vader, one of the most iconic villains in sci-fi. So I'm kind of excited to see who they'll get to replace him, and if they'll be able to live up to such a lofty role. I'm about to talk about AI and the ongoing SAG-AFTRA strike, and while I'm not the most knowledgeable about union inner workings or legal stuff pertaining to it, I have come across plenty of support and criticism for the union. And while I believe the current goal of the union is good and we should fight for it, the criticisms they also receive are very valid. I believe that everyone should support the strike, but we should also be loud about improving ways for non-union actors to join or making it more realistically accessible. It's a long road ahead to protect the arts, and we should be walking this path together. If you've spent any time on the internet or in a creative space over the last 2 years, you've likely, against your own will, seen a piece of generative AI content. Browsing art under tags for your favorite game or VTuber? Slop. Searching through YouTube? Slop. Google Images? Slop. Etsy? Slop. No, Rule 34, not you too. AI programs are becoming readily available, and there are hundreds of videos and tutorials on how to use generative AI to make money, get a fake girlfriend, or make and upload the same shitty images that your parents keep sharing on Facebook. And some of these videos have 10 to hundreds of thousands of views. But what does this have to do with voice actors in Zenless Zone Zero? A lot, actually. In July of 2024, SAG-AFTRA, a labor union that represents media workers from various fields, including voice acting and motion capture performance in video games, began a labor strike. This came after a year and a half of negotiations fell through. Those who are striking are demanding that contracts include protections against the use of AI for all performers. Performers are also looking for protections against companies training AI to replicate an actor's voice or create a digital replica of their likeness without their consent or compensation. I'd like to read this statement from SAG-AFTRA's website directly. SAG-AFTRA members have been on strike against video game employers since July 26th of 2024. While negotiations have resulted in finding common ground on some contract terms, we remain far apart on provisions that will ensure fundamental AI protections for our members. We encourage you to read this extensive updated comparison chart of AI proposals to see for yourself the loophole-filled language employers are proposing instead of the transparent, enforceable AI guardrails we deserve. I'm going to leave a link to this in the description if you'd like to read more about it. But again, what does this have to do with Zenless Zone Zero? Well, the two English voices that were replaced, Nicholas Thurkettle, who voiced Lycan, and Emery Chase, the former voice of Soldier 11, both stated that they were unwilling to perform work that wasn't covered by SAG's interim agreement during the strike. They put their jobs on the line to demand better protections for fellow performers and were silently replaced. I'm going to read and focus on Emery's statements specifically, one, because they've said more on the matter, and two, because they responded to me when I asked for permission on the matter. Thank you, Emery. Hey, proxies. I was replaced as Soldier 11 because I am unwilling to perform work not covered by a SAG interim agreement during a strike for AI protections, the outcome of which will determine the future of our industry. Any other theories that pop up are incorrect. I'd like to clarify that there's a difference between being struck and not being on an interim agreement. Union projects that began work prior to the strike and non-union projects are not struck. They also do not offer the union-enforced AI rights we are fighting for. Many actors are choosing to voluntarily withhold work on these categories of projects because we feel it is the best way to support the union's fight for the protections that are critical to our continued ability to create the art we love. I knew that by withholding work, it was possible I'd be replaced. Though, of course, I hoped they would choose to leave her silent until I was able to return. I found out the role was recast today alongside all of you. I loved working on Zenless Zone Zero, and would have been thrilled to return to the project post-strike or with an interim agreement. But I stand by my choices regardless of the outcome. All my best wishes to the cast and the production team. Thank you for a great ride, proxies. I find that what Emery says in their first statement, that the outcome of this will determine the future of entire industries, is absolutely correct. Gaming as an industry has always been chasing cutting-edge technology and ideas. The jump from 2D to 3D, the emergence of reliable VR sets in the late 2010s, and now, in the 2020s, it's the advancement of AI technology. As I was writing this script, a video featuring prototype footage of an AI-powered version of Aloy from Sony's Horizon series leaked. Aloy's voice actor, Ashley Birch, came forward to say she was informed that the leaked demo did not use her vocal or facial data. She did, however, have this to say.
The demo didn't reflect anything that was actively in development. They didn't use any of my performance for the demo, so none of my facial or voice data. So all that said, I feel worried. And I feel worried not because the technology exists, not even because game companies want to use it, because of course they do. They always want to use technological advancements. I just imagine a video like this coming out that does have someone's performance attached to it, that does have someone's voice or face or movement. And the possibility that if we lose this fight, that person would have no recourse. They wouldn't have any protections, any way to fight back. And that possibility, it makes me so sad. It hurts my heart. It scares me. I love this industry and this art form so much.
And additionally, I must add that Ashley is a part of the SAG after strikes.
Yeah, I mean, I support the strike. I've always supported the strike.
This is exactly what they're striking for. Now, as said, the AI Aloy didn't use Ashley's performances, but theoretically, they could have. And also theoretically, Ashley would possibly be owed nothing and have no say about how it's used. One of the key things that strikers are demanding with these negotiations is that companies would have to get their consent to train an AI off their performances, and to be properly compensated for its use. At the end of the last section, I mentioned I was interested in who might replace James Earl Jones as the voice of Darth Vader following his passing. Well, the thing is, in 2022, Jones signed a deal with Lucasfilm to allow archival recordings of his voice to be used to help artificially generate the voice of Darth Vader in future projects. And it's already been used. In the Disney Plus series Obi-Wan, Ukrainian software company Respeecher was used to synthesize Jones' voice for the performance. Jones was able to consent and sign a deal over the rights of his voice. Now, I personally disagree with this move. I don't think generative AI should be anywhere close to our artistic endeavors. But I especially disagree with this because Jones hasn't been the only person to voice Darth Vader.
A noble cause, General. I hope the demonstration lives up to your claims. Proceed.
You have failed me, Inquisitor.
I sense someone far more powerful nearby. Where is your master?
Your destiny lies with me. This will be a day long remembered.
To artificially make this character cuts the very thread of possibly amazing performances that one of these proven actors could have given. And now that Lucasfilms has the ability to just synthesize Vader, what does that mean for future voice roles in Star Wars games that both Scott Lawrence and Matt Sloan have been mainstays in? The entire industry is at risk here, not just for current voice actors or performers, but for all those who will come afterwards. I want to end this section by reading another one of Emery Chase's tweets that involves a subject of AI protections that I hadn't even thought of, that being legal representation. There are many contracts out there with AI protections, but only SAG interim contracts provide actors with a legal team to enforce the contract at no cost. Legal fees are expensive, and many actors would have to go into debt to enforce our own contracts if they were violated. Legal representation with the backing of a union is an incredibly important thing for artists to have in the fight against AI, especially since some of the companies they're going up against include Activision, Electronic Arts, Epic Games, and Disney. These companies have extensive legal teams and billions of dollars they'll be willing to burn through just to get their way. Imagine you're one actor going up against the likes of Disney. You know, the same Disney that lobbied aggressively to get public domain laws changed. The same Disney whose CEO, Bob Iger, during the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strike, referred to actor demands as not realistic, despite the fact that Bob makes an alleged and unrealistic $27 million in salary and bonuses. That Disney. Having legal backup is essential to protecting workers' rights and their autonomy.
Fuck AI!
I can't go a day without some sort of AI slop forcing its way into my eyes or ears. Whether I am scrolling Twitter, watching TikToks with my wife, or trying to shop for craft supplies at Michael's, it is everywhere, and I hate it. The general consensus from people actually in the arts is that AI-generated art is bad and worthless. Actually, it is negative worth. It's not only an insult to the skill and practice that artists have put into their work, but it's also actively stealing creations of these artists.
In the case of Adobe, they outwardly state that if you've uploaded something to their database, they use it to train generative AI. It's not even debatable if they're doing this. It's literally written in their terms of service.
And it doesn't stop with visual art or vocal performances. It's happening to music too. I am a musician, and I take great pride in the work that I do, and the various skills I have developed because of it. I enjoy creating music, and any sort of fame or money that comes from it is entirely secondary. But talentless AI-obsessed freaks don't care about the process or learning and improving. They really only care about the end product, because the end product is what makes you money. It's what gets you noticed. They can probably jump into Udio or Suno or Poop Shitto and have the program vomit out some lifeless drum and bass tune before I've even decided what drum break to use in FL Studio. Generate a few more songs and a photo of a black and white anime girl, and boom, there's your album. Upload it to YouTube or throw $20 at DistroKid, and with a little bit of luck, you might make a profit. Unfortunately, all you've really done is continue to oversaturate platforms with subpar, anti-human garbage. Create unique music effortlessly with Deep AI, free AI music generator. Perfect for Foley, sound effects, and background tracks for your videos. You don't need an AI tool to get those. I understand that technology is cool and it generates what I tell it to. But there are hundreds of thousands of people who make high-quality background music or art that can be used for free. That's how I got my start. The YouTube Studio library has thousands of sound effects and songs that you can use for your videos already, including this absolute banger I'm about to play for you now. No matter how much people who use generative AI like to pretend or call themselves artists, they are anything but. They are not artists. You did not make art. You manufactured a product. By using programs that do all the work for you, you have created nothing. You are not the one who made the art. The computer did. You aren't an artist or a creator. You are a generator. You create slop that isn't even worth being on the shelves of a dollar store. One aspect of art and the process of creation that I don't think AI can ever grasp is the importance of the human experience. You can feed a machine all of the music that inspired Nirvana. Heck, you could even feed it their album Nevermind. But without the lived experience of its members, an AI would never be able to create the album in utero. You could give a machine every electronic and drum and bass song made so far and the sound of a door opening and closing, and it would still never create Open the Door by Vincent. We live in a world with an excess of technology and tools that artists even 20 years ago couldn't have dreamed of. It is easier now more than ever to start learning how to create things that you want to create. And no matter how much AI trash flows onto the internet, a human being will always be able to make it better or more creatively. A trend that I found particularly frustrating was character song covers. Over the last few years, you've probably come across a couple of these, whether it was Plankton from SpongeBob or Cartman from South Park, belting out the most artificial and phasey vocals to Evanescence or Queen songs. You've definitely heard one or two of them. And I'll admit that initially, I didn't hate them. Some were funny and even novel to hear. But the novelty quickly waned, and it became more annoying hearing and seeing just how many of these that people had made. And they didn't stop at stealing characters' voices. They started making them about real people.
My name is Schlatt, and there's no doubt that AI is taking over the world. It's a great tool for untalented people who want to pretend like they have talent. I mean, in a couple of clicks, you can bring anything to life in a worse way than a human can.
YouTuber and Twitch streamer Jay Schlatt is by far one of the most used voices for making AI covers that isn't a mainstream celebrity. One playlist I managed to find had 139 videos and over 1 million views, with fake covers of My Way and New York, New York being the most viewed.
This is actually an enjoyable listen. And there's other good ones too. There's playlists of them. Anytime I'm on a Frank Sinatra song, it sounds good. It feels like it fits. This is scary, man. It's scary. It is. Because think about how none of this stuff existed only a year ago, or like a couple years ago. Did this stem from like, you didn't think I could do it, you know? But you think I can't do Bo Burnham? You think I can't do fucking Frank Sinatra?
And the thing is, he can. After seeing the absurd popularity of covers using artificially generated versions of his voice, Schlatt stepped up and made his own version of My Way by Frank Sinatra. And it's honestly one of the best covers of the tune I've heard to date. Now, some may argue that he just gave the generators exactly what they wanted. And depending on the situation, I would agree. But I find that Schlatt not only being able to prove to himself, but to everyone else that he could do it is incredibly inspirational. And he wasn't done there. Just this last Christmas, the dude came out with a whole Christmas cover album, and it's fantastic. Now, it would be irresponsible for me to not admit this, but AI generations are getting better. The things they generate are getting more realistic, and in some situations, it's even hard to distinguish them from the real thing. But AI will always lack the ability to generate something truly new. Like I said, a human being will always be able to make it better or more creatively. I've stumbled upon so many hilarious and well-made videos that seem to transcend what it means to make art. Art made by humans, for other humans to enjoy, and we should never throw that away, because even in the most difficult of times, we still have art. I'd like to end the video by circling back around to Zenless Zone Zero and the strikes. I started my previous video by talking about how much I loved Zenless Zone Zero, and I still do. This game has quickly become one of my favorites that I've ever played. But the voice actors who bring these characters to life deserve better. They deserve protections against having their voices stolen by AI. Both of them fully admitted and accepted that their choice to abstain and join the strike could see them replaced. And I fully believe that replacing them was the wrong move. Hoyo failed the actors, and they failed us, the players. I'd like you to imagine if Nicole, Anby, or Fairy's voice actors joined the strike. If they did, they could also be replaced. And with their performances being changed, the very essence and spirit of the game could also change, much like it already has. I absolutely love this game, but if Hoyo can't give their actors the protections they deserve, I don't know if I can continue to advertise, stream, or make additional content about it until the strike is over. Lastly, should they ever reveal the names of who took over the new roles of Lycon or Soldier 11, neither of those people deserve any hate for taking the job. Both of them are doing fine work, even if the change may be upsetting initially. I'd like to ask that everyone support the strike in whatever way you can. Even just support online or through word of mouth is helpful. Support all the artists, actors, and the musicians out there that you love. And lastly, fuck AI.